Hello, welcome to today's webinar with me, your host Steve Milner, and today we're going to be discussing how to launch a successful blog. So, you want to launch a blog or you want to take your blog to the next level. Now, before we actually start the webinar, I just want to explain a little bit about who I am so you can hear my expertise. My name is Steve Milner. I'm a member of the Digital Marketing Rocks team, and I do two things. One, I run the community and blog, and I'm also a consultant. So from the point of running blogs, I've had a number of blogs over the years, 15 years experience running blogs, to be honest, and I've had some very successful blogs in different industries and niche industries within those. Now, I'm a consultant as well, and there's two areas of focus which I do is basically I'm a strategist and a specialist in producing successful campaigns for digital marketing. And today, I'm going to give you some great tips on how I launch a blog and develop it further. Okay? They're not difficult tips. Actually, they're all about getting content, strategic content, targeting your strategic visitor, and producing the right content and how to produce content and more. Before we start the actual webinar, I have an invitation for you. If you don't know too much about digitalmarketingrocks.net, I would like to invite you to come and join. It's free. We are an online community for digital marketers globally. We have groups, forums, webinars, as you've just found one and taken part. We have podcasts, blogs. We are a learning environment to help you move and take your digital marketing and blogging forwards. Our experience comes from us actually doing digital marketing for ourselves and our clients, and we would like to invite you to come and join our community. So why don't you come along to digitalmarketingrocks.net. Actually, here's the link below. Give it a click and register, and within a few minutes you could be a member of our community. Now it's time to start the webinar, Success with a Blog. The webinar should take around about probably 30 to 45 minutes, and I'm going to give you lots of tips on how to grow your blogs and to be successful with them. I'm going to start with something very, very obvious, but I see so many bloggers out there, they say, oh, I'm having difficulty with my blog. And they're doing, I've got this software, I'm doing loads of research on the keywords, I'm doing loads of research on the topics I should be posting, and I'm learning about the topics. And I ask a simple question. Do you know what you're writing about? Do you have experience with the topic you're blogging about? Okay. Now, this is my opinion, and I think it makes it easier if you know the topic. Okay, because I had a friend of mine years ago, I'm not going to tell you the industry he was blogging about, but he was blogging and he was having difficulty. He was having difficulty writing the content. He was doing loads and loads of research. And I had a blog. I had a niche blog for an educational industry, which I was running for about 10 years. It was more of a hobby, but I learned how to blog at that time. And he said to me, how do you write an article in about an hour? And it takes me a few days. I said, well, I know the industry. I know the topic. I know the topic off by heart. The topic was about me. I had experience. I had 120% experience in it. I didn't need to do the research. The research, if I did anything, was just to clarify something, to make sure that I didn't give the wrong information. He had a brand new industry. He didn't know anything about it. He just thought it would be profitable. Now, I would recommend, if you're going to start a blog and you're going to be successful, and you want to be successful, choose a topic you are an expert in, because then everything else will come easy to you. Now, if you're doing a blog for the company that you work for and you don't know too much about it because you're like, maybe you're a marketer and you haven't had the technical training, for example, go and get people to write for you. You know, the product managers, the sales team, or get their advice on the content that you're writing. Okay. But really, you know, blogging should be something that you are passionate about. So, you're passionate about the topic and you want to start writing. Don't start writing yet. Okay? What I suggest before you start a blog is you need to understand who your visitors are going to be. And this is what this next section is all about. This might sound stupid, but you need to understand who your visitors are. Like, you're going to say, oh, I know who my visitors are. That's a stupid thing to understand. It's not. Because understanding who your visitors are is understanding your target audience. And if you are targeting, for example, writing a topic about which is very female orientated and you're very gadgety, for example, in your topic, you're talking about gadgets more, you know, the female audience will be not interested, but the male audience might be. But if the audience is mainly for that target market is female, you need to have content which is targeted to the female audience. Same thing if you're having a blog which is very male orientated industry or topic. You know, the content should be targeted to the male audience because that's who you're going to promote to. Now, country. Where is your audience coming from? Now, for example, I had a blog a few years ago and I thought, okay, I was always looking at the analytics, but I wasn't really interested to see where they were coming from. But I discovered that the majority of my audience was from the US. But my experience and what I was writing was about the UK. So I started to write about more content focusing on the US. This got a lot more clicks on content. I got a lot more comments. People stayed longer on my blog. They clicked more pages. Because, you know, let's say you're writing about a topic which is for the US and you're not really, I should have switched off my Outlook. Oops. You really want to be focusing on that country where people are mainly coming from. If you can be generic with your content, perfect. But if you can't and you need to be writing things about the industry focus, you know, being country orientated is going to get a lot more traction from visitors. And it also depends on how you're marketing if you're doing, for example, Facebook marketing, you're targeting specific pages, for example, and their audience is from the US, you're going to get the US. If you want it just to be the UK, you're going to have to specify that you only want it from the UK. It sounds stupid, but for example, there's certain countries I don't like visiting my blogs. And I actually block them because end of the day, when someone comes to my website, I want them to actually be attracted to it and I want to get conversions. And the conversions often is I want them to go through the site a lot more with page conversions. And if I get people from, for example, India and they bounce off, that's going to affect my rankings because I'm going to get that high bounce rate. So if I block them from the start, I can then reduce the bounce rate, or I can send them to an additional group of pages which says, sorry, unfortunately, we don't target this your country, but here's some articles that you might like to read. And because they're targeted, people are happy to read through them. Now, age. This sounds probably a bit stupid. I mean, I'm 38. If I'm going to write a blog which is targeting teenagers, I'm going to have to write content which is targeting teenagers. I'm going to change the way I have to change the way I write. I have to change the image style that I currently do. Now, think about the age of the individual. Who's your average reader? Males at the age of 20 have a different generic demographics, slightly styles, for example, than the same age group with women. Also, the job title. If you're doing a B2B blog, who are the people visiting your site? Understand, are they technical people? Are they managers? Because you can have, are they purchasing people? Are they sales? Are they marketing? If they're technical, often they might want it a bit more technical orientated content. But if you have people coming to your blog who are, let's say, newbies to the industry, and you need to put content which is more guide orientated to help them learn. The next one is, what is their interests? Now, I'm going to go on in a minute. I'll talk about value propositions, but do they have any specific interest which gets them to visit your site? Now, for example, let's say a blog about football. What are their interests? Are they Premier League, UK Premier League teams that they're interested in? Are they Division 1? For example, if you look at your analytics, are they coming from the northern England, or are they coming from southern England, UK, for example? If they're coming from southern England, you might want to produce more content which is southern orientated about the Premier League, about their football teams. Going to go on about value propositions in a minute. That's more about the interests. Understanding who your visitors are and producing a plan of who you want your visitors to be, and look at analytics and look at who they actually are. Do you need to tailor your content to match who's actually visiting? Or can you do things which can be more targeting of who you want them to be? And then producing content that is for the marketing side of it, for example, with the ads, for example. Do you know what a value proposition is? To be honest, it is something that you should be using, and if not, learn about and use it within your blog. Now, the previous slide on the webinar here was talking about who your visitors are, or who you want them to be when they visit your blog or website. The next is understanding why they would visit your blog. What are their needs? What are their wants? And what are their pains? Understanding this, or these three characteristics or options or difficulties, will give you an understanding of what content to produce. Now, let's say you had a blog which was about dogs. Okay, I don't have a dog, I have a cat, but still, I think we'll do this one about dogs. And let's say that your blog was about owning new puppies. Okay, you've just got a puppy and you want to learn about how to raise that puppy. Okay, so their needs are, for example, They need to understand what the puppy needs before they get the puppy, what they need to do to train the puppy, what they need to buy for the food, for the best food for the puppy, how to socialize the puppy. This is their needs. Okay, they need to understand how to raise the puppy. Okay, their wants. Okay, their wants might be, I want a guide to do it. I want video tutorials on how to train my puppy. I want a list of the top 10 toys for my puppy. Okay, pains. Okay, the pains of not owning a puppy. The pains of actually what they want from you, what they currently have. Okay, currently they might not be able to get specific information. So what is that information? Pains might be that they have a specific breed of dog, and therefore they need specific understanding how to train that puppy. So maybe you could produce content for different breeds. Now, let's talk about the gains. Okay, with what I've said, the needs, wants and pains, each one of those there can give you some gains. And the gains are targeting content which is that they need, what they want, and their pains. So for example, it could be top 10, the gains could be having an article which is a top 10 guide to what to buy before you bring the puppy home. It could be having a game which is an email course or videos on training the puppy. A gain could be that you have more videos on your blog than you have articles. For example, it could be a 3-minute tutorial video rather than a 20-minute video on how to train a puppy. Now, there's something I missed, and this is very important. A good value proposition and understanding what their needs are and wants and pains is to actually not assume that you know it. Yes, you can do research by looking at what other puppy websites have. But if you do that, you're going to copy what other people are doing, which is fine, which is good because it helps you learn. But a true value proposition is never assumption. It is fact. When you can give fact. Now, a good thing is, if you can do this, is to go and ask people who have puppies or who have had puppies and ask them what their needs were, what their wants are, and what their pains, and then produce that content. Value proposition is very, very important, because if you don't get this right and you're not creating the right content which targets their needs and wants and pains for you to give gains, you're going to struggle with your blog or website. We've talked about who your visitors are. We've talked about the value proposition and how to target that. Now, I'm going to jump into actually how to move your blog forward from starting and launching a new blog. So, you're about to start a blog, or you have a blog that you're about to launch. Okay? My personal experience and what I try to do is, before I launch a website or a blog, or specifically blogs, is I try to have between 25 to 50 articles on the topics for the blog. Now you're going to say, well, that's a lot of content, isn't it? Well, if you don't have enough content in your blog and people visit, they're going to jump off, and you're going to have a high bounce rate on that. And so what I do is, well, first of all, it isn't really too much content if you really do know the industry and the topics you're writing about. because you should be able to, if you know it, you should be able to write it pretty quickly. Now, if you were to write one article a month, so one article a day for a month, you know, you're going to have 30 articles. And yes, it is a bit tiring doing it, but it helps you create a positive blog when they first visit. It doesn't really look good if you only have 5 articles. Now, what I do when I start a blog, before I start writing 25 or 50 pieces of content, I look at the 5 main topics from the value proposition. So, if we go back to the Puppy website, Puppy blog, okay, the 5 main areas would probably be choosing a puppy, what to have before I bring the puppy home, what to buy, the first week of having a puppy or the first month, how to train the puppy, and how to help the puppy grow to become a good wholesome's the wrong word, a good family dog. I don't have a puppy, don't have dogs, I have a cat. But you get the idea. You know, these are 5 common focus areas I would have on that blog, which I think I would want to know about. Look at researching and training a puppy. Okay, then I would produce 10 articles, key articles, highlighting from the value propositions again, the needs, the wants, the pains, and answering those in 10 articles per topic of the 5. Now, your whole reason of doing this is to promote authority within the topic. You want to choose 10 articles which really does narrow down what someone would want to be learning about. And because what you want is someone visiting your blog and going straight away, these are the articles I want to read. Again, value propositions, very, very important. Go out and go and research, go and ask people. You know, go and ask a neighbour who had a puppy. Go to a local dog school and ask them. You know, go and research other blogs. Go and join social media channels and see what they're posting. But your first 25 articles was what going to get people to say when they visit that blog, do I want to learn more? Now, these are the type of articles which I would put into an automated email course as well. But we'll talk about that later. So, you have your 25 articles, up to 50 articles, for example, and now it's time to start promoting your blog. Okay, promoting the content out there to get visitors back to your blog. I'm a big believer in social media. So I would start when I'm launching a blog or a website, I would go out and go and visit Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, even Pinterest, for example. Having a YouTube channel, for example. Pick where you know you're going to get, how you're going to get visitors back to your blog, for example. Now, to really get visitors back to your blog, I try to use really 2 social networks, and they would be Facebook and LinkedIn. I would go out then and develop a Facebook page, a LinkedIn company page. And I would make sure that the images that I'm setting up with the icon, for example, image, and the banner image at the top of the Facebook and LinkedIn company page says exactly who you are, but also gets the heartstrings going for people to look at when they visit and go, yes, that's what I'm interested in. Now, for example, you can use Pinterest. That's very female focused, and you can post the same content that you have on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter on Pinterest as well. I don't just use one social network. I try to use as many as possible. And I call them channels because they're channeling traffic back to my site. And if you use a social media tool, for example, which we'll talk about later, you can post once, for example, from your blog, and it goes onto multiple social network and social media channels. So you have set up your Facebook page, your LinkedIn company page, your Twitter account, your Pinterest. You set up some boards. Now, you're missing one thing. You have no followers. How are you going to grow those followers? I use paid ads. Someone said to me, oh, that's not good. Oh, you could be wasting your money. Okay. First of all, if you have no followers, you're not going to get any traction or visitors back to your site if it's a brand new blog. This is the same technique I use to grow also and build followings for my clients, and it works. Now, for example, I will pay on Facebook or LinkedIn an ad which targets a key piece of content. Okay? And this is the first ad. This is what you do on Facebook anyway. Now, and you use this on LinkedIn. So a key piece of content to get people to come to your website. Okay? They click on it, they click the banner, and they arrive back on your website. That is the ideal type of individual because you've got their heartstrings, and you can see if that piece of content is actually valuable to and getting conversions. Okay. The next is Facebook. On Facebook, when you go through to the ads, you can do on the engagement ads, you can pay for likes. Paying for likes is a positive way to grow. But if you suddenly have 10,000 followers on your Facebook page because of liked, you really do need targeted content which hits their value proposition. So otherwise, you're not going to go viral. Now, on social networks, when you post something on your pages, within the first maybe 20 impressions, if you don't get any traction, no likes, no shares, no comments on that post, or no clicks, your post is going to go nowhere. It's not going to go further. It's not going to go viral. To go viral, you need the clicks on the image, on the banner there. You need people liking it, sharing it, and comment. Then you're going to go viral with two ways. The first is going viral on the followers on your company page on LinkedIn or on your Facebook page, and going viral to their friends and family, your connections on Facebook and LinkedIn. What I often target, and this is to try to check that my value proposition is correct, because there's no point paying more money and having more followers because you're not going to go viral. Okay, is I'll probably pay for about 500 likes. 500 likes isn't really that expensive. Now, to do that correctly, again, look at who your target audience is. And when you go through to the ad setup on Facebook and LinkedIn, have a look at the demographics. What we spoke about earlier on, the location, the age group, male or female, job titles. On LinkedIn, you can set, and even Facebook ads, you can target job titles. You know, if your blog is at manager level or director level, target those individuals. It might cost a little bit more, but don't forget, your value proposition is targeted at that group of individuals. And if they share it or like it, it's going to go out to their type of people, the people who they most likely will be involved with. It is not the wrong thing to do to grow your following by paying for ads. See it as an investment, because it is an investment. Because once you have those 500 followers or more and you're going viral, you're going to get more followers. It's advertising. So, you have your first 500 followers. What to do next? Okay. First thing is you have targeted content, which is on your blog. Start posting it. Don't post it too much. Don't start posting 10 articles a day because you're going to get people, you're not going to get the traction. Try maybe 2 or 3 articles a day posting. See what time, there's software out there, but you can see what time is best suited for people to. Now, learn what content they react to and what they don't. Okay, let's say that you post an article and you get no traction. There's a number of reasons this can happen. It could be they're not interested in that topic. Could be your image didn't work, the title didn't work. Test. One day posted the article and test one image. The next day, check another image. Check the title. Split test. And then if you're still not getting traction, don't post it again. It's not going to work. You've got 25 to 50 articles. When you start getting traction from reactions from people from articles out your 25, you've got an idea then of what content people like and what they don't like. And the ones that they like, that's the content you should be putting into your content plan. And that's the content you should be producing and posting more of. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're looking at. That's what your goal is, to get people back to your website. And if people are not interested, then that content really is a waste. It might be get traction when they've read another article on your website and you can recommend them reading it. But you want content which gets people to your blog. And therefore, that's the type of content you want to be producing more of and frequently. Now, what I do with my first 500 followers, and I'm probably going to mention this a bit further on in this webinar, is I don't just post it once and never post it again. I use Social Pilot, and there's a link here on the webinar, there, down below there, bottom. And basically, I will post these quality pieces of content frequently, and I'll repost them. Now, I might post, for example, 2 pieces a day, and I just keep that going. Now, I use Social Pilot for not just for the posting, but it tells me with the analytics what was successful. And I can then easily repost it. And I can say a timetable of what time I want to post, and therefore I just press the share again, and it goes back into the timetable of when it will post. You can do things, understanding things, how to what the reactions are by looking. But if you can use a tool like Social Pilot, it makes your life easier, and they actually give you more stats than what you'll probably be using by looking. And then you can be sure of that's the content I should be posting. We've just spoken about this on the last slide, didn't we, a little bit? But it's an important topic to discuss. Now, as mentioned, I try to post 2 or 3 times a day. I've got 25 to 50 pieces of content I can be posting in the first month. And I use the analytics on Social Pilot to, first of all, after the first or second week, to see what's popular. And then I take out what's less popular, or what doesn't work, and the most popular pieces of content I replace them with. Now, I tend to post 3 times a day, for example, with new blogs, or any blog, for example, as fact. And I try to post between 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Lunchtime 12 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., for example, and 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now, you're going to say, why is that? Or, for example, Monday to Friday, most people work. I'm talking UK time, for example. If you're targeting in the US as well, for example, and your blog is for the US and the UK, also maybe you want to post 5 times a day or 6 times a day. For example, I know in the UK between normally 7:30 to 9 o'clock, people are traveling to work. And if they're on a train, on a bus, they're going to be reading up on there and not bored. 12 o'clock till 1:30, that's lunchtime. 5 o'clock till 6:30, that's travelling home from work. You could even put another time which is between 7 o'clock, or let's call it 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And that's again where people are reading again. And when they're relaxing. So I try to target those times. And that's really the times where people are most likely using Facebook and LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn's slightly different because people are using it all day long for business. Try different times. Test it. You don't need to be exact. Now, here's another little fact here. People, digital marketers, bloggers, we do things very simply. If you look at the time people post, they put 9 a.m. So that means a lot of posts going out at 9 a.m. If you put 12 minutes past 9, you're probably better off, because when someone's on Facebook, that post comes up to the top when they're at 10 past 9. There is less competition if you target times which are not like 9 o'clock or 9:15 or 9:30 or 9:45 or 10 o'clock. I'm going to use the word jiggle. Jiggle the times. Don't always be on the strict time, because your competitors are posting mostly at those times. So, I say that quite a lot, but still, so you have the content, you have your blog, you have visitors because you're posting it on Facebook and LinkedIn and other social networks. Now is the time to get them returning. And this next section of this webinar today, we're going to talk about how to get returning visitors. One of the biggest successes you can have with your blog and to get returning visitors is to have an email newsletter. But when you create one email and you send it off on a Monday morning, for example, you've got to create that email, another email again, maybe the next Monday. And that becomes a bit of a resource of every Monday you've got to be creating an email. Now, an email course. Having an email course is a very simple technique. It takes time to produce, but it's very effective because once it's done, you don't really need to touch it. Okay? Except create more emails in the future. Now, what I do is I use Aweber to create automated emails. And what this means is if Joe Blogs signs up to your email on Monday, he will get his second email, if you stipulate it to be sent again a week later, again on the Monday. Now, if, for example, Claire, she joins on Tuesday, she's going to get her second email the next Tuesday. And what happens is you have a constant flow of traffic to your website using this technique. Okay. Now, if you send all your emails out to your whole audience just on a Monday, you've got to find another method, or you're not going to have much traffic coming in for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But with this, you're hoping, or you should be able to gain traffic the whole week long. Now, if you were to just do one email a week, that means you've got to come up with a topic, and people might not be at that level of information, for example, to receive it. Now, what I mean by that is, if you have an email course, you can plan out, for example, 20 emails. On our Digital Marketing Rocks email, we have over 70. So really, we don't have to touch any more emails for 70 weeks. But when you start out, you probably only want probably even 10 to start out with. And what I do is I produce like a course of emails, and I talk about the topic digital marketing, for example, for hours. And each email represents a topic to educate. And each email, we promote a topic and we discuss that topic with some content. And it could be long or short, but it has to be educational. Then I link other pieces of content from the blog or the community, and that gets them tantalized to come back to it. So for example, if I have a podcast, I then have a link to the podcast. If there's a webinar, we use, for example, automated webinars, so we can have people listening to webinars all the time. I add that to the email. If there are some more, maybe a guide, I link that into the email, i.e. bringing people back to the site. And that's how I bring in returning visitors using email marketing. How do you get people to sign up to your email newsletter? I'm going to talk about pop-ups. A lot of people do not like pop-ups because they're doing it wrong. Now, I do not like an exit pop-up. Exit pop-ups are annoying as hell because I'm leaving the site, but strangely they can actually work. Social Media Examiner, if you look at their website, they flash up a guide when you leave the site, or they used to. Here's our guide for social media marketing they promote. And they do get people signing up. I think they've got well over 1 million subscribers to their email newsletter. You can do that. What I like to do, and I don't like forcing people to join an email newsletter, but by using an exit pop-up. But what I do is when they go down an article, when they reach about 75% or 50%, I have a slide in pop-up which says join our email newsletter. You can be a bit more snazzier with the slide in pop-up. I mean, you can stipulate certain pages. Here's the pop-up tool I use. I can have multiple styles of pop-ups on my website, for example, and I can highlight that when they reach a certain category, a pop-up arrives, which, for example, let's say digital marketing, and let's say you're reading an article about email newsletters. I could have a pop-up coming up saying, join our email newsletter to discover more about email marketing. There's a science to using things correctly and using the correct strategies. It works. And if someone's going to join from a pop-up, you need to give them a verified reason to do it and why. And if it's done properly, you're going to have high conversion rates. Now, one thing, if you're going to use a pop-up, if you visit a website all the time, for example, and you get that same pop-up, it's going to annoy you. So I put in the settings of the webinars, the pop-up software below. For example, I put in there that if someone deletes it, they shouldn't get it for 10 more days. Or even 30 days, for example. Because if they're returning, they might. I always have an email subscription form on the sidebar of my blogs. So if they don't join via the pop-up, they might politely want to join via that subscription form. So you've started to get visitors to your website by advertising on Facebook or LinkedIn. And you've started to get returning visitors. And you've got some who are joining your email newsletter. Now it's time to give your followers and your new visitors more. Okay, you've started your blog and it's going well, or you could be struggling. But if you do have some followers on your social media channel, on Facebook and LinkedIn, for example, and you do have some followers on your email newsletter, you're doing something right. Your targeted value proposition is working. You might need to define it a bit more and produce maybe more targeted content. Now, the type of content I first of all work on is more articles. Now, I'll try to write maybe 1 or 2 new articles a week, and I'm using statistics from the Social Pilot, for example, on what my followers are liking, and I will produce more content similar to that. I might adjust that content or articles to maybe a new section. What we're talking about, the 5 sections earlier on, the 5 topics, maybe I'll do a 6th topic, or maybe I'll write an 11th or 12th article for a different for a section a topic I've worked for from the 5. Articles also are beneficial because they're very easy for example, search engines like Google and Bing to send you traffic, i.e. if your content is getting in the top 10, you're going to hopefully produce traffic off it. Now, what you might want to do from this side, I'm talking about producing more content. Maybe you want to take an article that you wrote before, one of the 25 or 50, and make it in more depth or make it longer. Now, for example, I mentioned Google and Bing. Search engines want to send people to your site with content that promotes authority in that subject or topic. Have a look on, for example, a keyword search on that topic and see what's number 1 and 2, 3. It's most probably going to be Wikipedia, or a longer article, or a more in-depth article, or an article which sends people off to multiple different articles in that topic. If you can copy what they're doing, you can grow yours as well and gain more traffic. Now, I mentioned email newsletters here. You've got your email course working and it's sending you traffic. So there's a few options to work on your email newsletter. First, maybe if there's emails which are not getting opened against the others, is it because your title is not working correctly? Change the title, split test the title on Aweber. For example, I use Aweber. Split test it. Have a look at, are people clicking the links on your site? Try maybe different email styles. Would your followers prefer a long article and then 3 or 4 links at the bottom? Or should it be a short article and then you then have an image plus an introduction text and a link? Test your emails. See what works and doesn't. If something works, then change all the emails, for example. It's going to be more work. But what you do know is what works gives you traction. And that traction brings you more visitors. And that more visitors brings you more money when you start earning money from your blog. So, you're doing well. You're posting articles maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. You've got your email newsletters doing well and you're getting traction that's bringing you traffic. How else or what other content is worth you producing and promoting? I tend to do the 2 out of the 3 on this list. I only do the 3rd when I have a good following because it takes a lot more effort to produce. Now, the first is I start a podcast. Now, if you know a subject well, you can record a podcast pretty quickly. I normally do my podcast about 10 minutes. I record my podcasts using an app called Meta Recorder on my phone, and I have a mic which plugs into the phone, and I record little clips, segments, and then I use Camtasia, which is a video recording software, to put all the audio together as a podcast. Now, I do this once a week, have a podcast here for the Digital Marketing Rocks, and you can go and have a look and join it and subscribe and start discovering more from my podcast. And so I start to have a routine with the content I'm producing. For example, I have 2 articles I write for the blog. For example, I have a podcast, and every 2 weeks we try to do a webinar. And a webinar is a bit more effort than a podcast, and writing an article, for example. A lot of the times, we might contact one of our friends in the industry and ask them to come and join us on a webinar, for example, and have a panel to discuss topics. And we use automated webinars as well. So our webinars are live to you guys today, for example. We've used a Facebook ad to attract you to this webinar, but we also list our past webinars on the community there, so anyone can rewatch them. Now, the next piece, and this can be gold mine to you, but it only works well if you have the traffic to your blog. And you've got your email course, and that's doing well. But why not, if people listening to your webinars and your podcasts, have a course on your blog about the topic? Now, this takes a bit more effort, for example. Do you just sit at a desk and talk about a topic? Or do you, for example, we're talking about puppies here, for example, as we're talking about puppy blogs earlier on, you could have a how to train your puppy. The next effort would be you need to find a little puppy and you need to do videos training them. So you're going to have someone potentially be there to video while you're talking. But maybe you just set it at the stand up. You're going to need to have equipment. For example, I have a DJI Pocket Osmo. That cost me about €350. I've tried different cameras and I find this one's the best for me, the way I video. I've got this mic here, a Samsung mic, which I often record with as well. You're going to spend about probably €500 on equipment. I've got a ring light as well beside the desk, which I do recording. I've got some side lights as well. So you're going to spend about probably €500. And that's just on the equipment you need to record videos. Another thing you can do, or what you're going to need, is software for it. I find the best software for courses is Learn Dash. It's easy to set up, and you can actually make money from your courses. So what I tend to do if I set up a course on a blog is I offer some free courses, and then or a free course, and then I level up by saying you can get more courses and buy. This is the fee, or yearly fee, for example. Why have the free course? Well, you could offer multiple free courses, for example. I have some blogs which are free course. We offer free courses because we generate the email newsletter, more email subscribers, and therefore I can send out more emails and therefore upsell through the emails about paid courses. Try what works for you. Test it, see what works. If something works and you can move it forward more, go for it. If you feel that offering free courses is not going to work, then don't bother. It's the same thing as trying different ways of doing courses. For example, podcasts. Here, this webinar today, I'm talking not via a script. Some people like using scripts when talking for podcasts, courses, and webinars. These free pieces of content are more visual content to your community. You're going to be putting a face and a voice to your followers. So you become more an authority to them. And that's why these free pieces of content types there can take your blog really to the next level. Hey, we've come to an end of today's webinar. It's conclusion time. I hope you're sitting there and you thought, hey, this is actually a very interesting webinar. I've got some good tips here from Stephen and Digital Marketing Rocks here. If you haven't joined, please do come and join us. There's the link below. Please do come and join and be a member of our community. We have lots of groups there, lots of forums you can learn more from. We do our podcast weekly. We have our webinars as well, frequently, every 2 weeks we try. And we have lots of articles to learn from the blog. Now, to sum up really about the webinar, to be successful with a webinar, with a blog, there should be really 4 elements here, but let's just talk about the first 3. You need to be targeted on the content. So you need to understand who your visitors are. And you might need to do some research, or you should do some research for your value proposition. Your value proposition shouldn't be just assumptions, it should be actual facts. And to be fact, asking people who your potential visitors should be. Even though you might know the topic off by heart, it's still worth asking potential visitors if you can. It's worth understanding also who your target audience is. So are they male or female? Are they different age groups? Maybe there's one age group. If you look at the analytics of your site, which it tells you that the age group is between 20 and 30, and you thought it was older. Maybe you have a higher bounce rate than you should do because of the style of your site or the style of on your social media. For example, isn't targeting the main age group. Now you can adjust that main age group by building a following. And some people are going to say, oh, I don't really want to be using paid ads. I see paid ads as an investment. Getting those followers to your site, and you can target, by understanding what your target audience is and their value proposition, you can then understand what the demographics of your ads should be by using Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads. See it as an investment. For example, I should have said this earlier, I don't spend €1,000 a month on ads when starting a blog. I will start using maybe only $5 to $10 a day with ads on Facebook, for example. And then I know that I'm getting it's less about getting the traffic to the site, but it's more about, or high volume traffic, it's about getting traffic to your site and what you can learn by it. And by doing this for the first few months of developing your blog, you can then learn of what people like and dislike and produce more content that people like. The fourth area of focus is about getting returning visitors. And I've missed that piece. That should be number 4 on this list. Targeting or producing more quality content is from learning. But then if you're happy, like you are maybe getting more traffic to your website and more returning visitors, look at your email newsletter that you have. Is there any emails which are not getting any traction? Is there any emails that you can add to and swap around, which will give you more? It's about, for example, not just about creating good quality content, but it's also about getting conversions. And often a conversion to get a returning visitor comes from what you're doing away from your blog, in the sense of social media or your email newsletter. Can you adjust the style of your images on your posts to actually get more traction and get more clicks? Split test. The thing about a website and a blog, it's about moving forwards. And if something doesn't work, move away from it and try something else. And if something works, use it and keep it working until it doesn't, and then adapt. That's really my conclusion to today's webinar. I do wish you all good luck and happiness with your blog. I've enjoyed creating blogs for over 15 years now. And to be honest, I've seen how they can help a company grow, help an individual make a new career, or help an individual make an additional income. Please do come and join Digital Marketing Rocks. Hey, if you got any questions and you want to ask me personally, come and join us here at Digital Marketing Rocks. Connect with me and ask me questions. Always available to answer questions from my connections and followers. Thank you very much for listening today, and have a good and enjoyable time blogging. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.